Hola, ¿cómo están? Our next panel, it's, a project very dear to our heart. In the first panel that Estefanía and I spoke, we're telling you a little bit about our Pitch to LAFS finalists, and we wanted to tell this story, and we wanted for you guys to understand the process. And the biggest testimonial and, our letter of recommendation is really these two amazing women that are, our case study of the Pitch to LAFS. And we're very, very proud of them, what they have accomplished. They have come a long, long way. And they are also working with two other amazing women that have brought them there. And so I'm very, very happy to introduce this panel and introduce taking your business to the next level with the Pitch to LAFS Winners, our baby project. The moderator is Estefanía Lacayo, my co-founder. And the panelists are Ramya Giangola, founder of Gogoluxe and brand strategist, Stacey Caldwell, founder of Caldwell Creative and brand strategist, Maygel Coronel, the winner of Pitch to LAFS 2019, and Kika Vargas, the winner of Pitch to LAFS 2018.
Guys, I am so insanely excited about this panel. I mean, can you believe what we've done? It's unbelievable.
It's amazing.
All right, I'm going to start by presenting, Kika is the creative director of her brand, Kika Vargas. Maygel Coronel is the creative director of Maygel Coronel. Stacey Caldwell is the owner and of Caldwell Creative Studio. She focuses in brand strategy, business development. She works with clients including Another Tomorrow, Homegirls, Takun, Alapel, Farm Rio, Segal, and Maygel Coronel. Ramya is the founder of Gogoluxe Fashion, retail and brand consultant. She works with retail clients and brand acquisitions and retail strategy with brands and clients on creative development, merchandising, along retail business strategy. Her clients include the Lane Crawford, Joyce Group, Morphis China, Hudson's Bay Company, and brands like Kika Vargas, No Pises La Grama, Adina Rater, Casa Velázquez, and Agua by Agua Bendita. So we were talking on our first panel today about the Pitch to LAFS. When we started LAFS, we always knew that we needed to create the pitch. And it's so interesting, the evolution of what it's become. And Kika Vargas, she was, the winner for the first year. But I'm going to start with you, Stacey. When I asked you about, being a judge, what were your thoughts? What have you seen in the evolution of the process?
When Estefanía came to me actually when she had this idea also for the Pitch to LAFS, and I felt like it was such an amazing opportunity for Latin American designers and designers all over the world to really focus on this market. And I was so thankful to be a judge on Kika's Pitch to LAFS season, and then also with Maygel, and looking at Mayhel's business specifically. And when we met, she had a great business that had a small direct-to-consumer online business. There was a website. She had a small store in Cartagena, and she worked with about 10 retailers globally. But the nice thing about the Pitch to LAFS is you really get to look at the financials for these companies and these designers and have a look at their process and the room for growth, which I think is really key. And the one thing I saw with Maygel specifically was that she had an amazing product. Swimwear's a very competitive market, but she had a product that with one size, because it's stretched 4 ways, could fit sizes 0 to 10, which is incredible. And it was also a really good price point, but it was still in the luxury market. So with the pitch to LAFS and Maygel specifically, I just saw so much potential. So you were so kind to introduce us, and we started working together when you won, and I know it was the same for Kika and Ramya, but it's just so nice to meet these designers and have the opportunity to take what is a great small business normally and allow it to scale internationally.
So for you, Ramya, you know, same. I introduced you guys together. I mean, one thing that you guys need to understand is the moment that the winner wins, our job is immediately to start working with our team, where we dedicate ourselves to work for them for free because it's part of, you know, part of everything that they win. But it's finding them that right partner, because there's amazing luxury consultants all over the world, but it's about the right fit. And I always knew that you were the right fit. I mean, I thought aesthetically you guys were the right fit. And I just thought that you were going to be able to do so much for the brand. What attracted you to Kika when I came to you and I was like, I really want you to work with Kika. I really want to negotiate prices. I really want to negotiate a lot of things so you can make it easier. Well, what is it that attracted you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, having been a judge for the first and second pitch to LAFS and seeing Kika's work, what really struck me about her is, and understanding her background as an artist and having studied art, I really thought that together we had a very similar vision for where we could take the brand, considering her artistic background and wanting to like integrate her culture and her artistic background into the brand. And I think from my work with retailers and other brands, I have a perspective on art and how to bring art and fashion together, and I think that was what Kika needed to make her brand successful.
For you girls, I'm going to start with you, Kika. What do you think it takes to take your business to the next level?
Oh my God. You know, I think you have to really have consistency and be perseverant. But when I met Ramya, like right before we met, you know, we had done an extensive like research on how our production was going to be like and how our distribution was going to be like. We weren't selling anywhere, but we did want to understand all our production in.
Sorry, let me interrupt you. You were not selling anywhere. I mean, you were recognized in Colombia. You were a recognized, very recognized designer. What distribution did you have at that moment when you won the pitch?
Yeah, well, you know, I started the brand 10 years ago. But when I had my babies, I kind of like scaled back and kind of like stepped off the international kind of like bus. And then it was right before, you know, once we came to LAFS, it was kind of like our way of just being like, okay, we need to like jumpstart the brand again. We need to like get it back rolling. So we weren't in any retailers internationally. It was the aim for the brand. It was always thought for an international customer with a global kind of like spirit. But we didn't have any international customers. So right before I met Ramya, we did an extensive like research of how we were gonna get our production in roll. And also that also helped when we met, you know, our first conversation with Ramya was like, you know, I think we need to like relaunch everything, rebrand, kind of like regroup and think about our team going forward. But what I thought was really interesting from where I was that we were really in a ready place with our production. You know, we weren't making not even 100 dresses or 50 or even 20, but we had our logistics in place to be able to cater to whatever was coming.
It's amazing, and it's amazing what you girls have done together. Maygel, we're going to do Spanglish here because, you know, it's Miami, we can do it. Maygel, ¿qué crees que requiere hacer ese salto como para un diseñador?
Bueno, en cuanto a lo que estábamos hablando de, por ejemplo, en nuestro caso, el salto más grande es organizar como la empresa, todo lo que es aparte de lo creativo o lo que, ¿sabes? Sientes como que, o conoces de tu producto, es organizar todo el equipo en producción y que pueda como responder a las necesidades del mercado. Entonces, a veces, de pronto, por ejemplo, yo que toda la vida me he dedicado a la parte creativa, a esa parte de sentimiento, ese romanticismo, no estoy muy ligada a la realidad de estar organizada con producción, insumos, o sea, tener que todo el equipo funcione como para poder estar, sabes, como que trabajando y obviamente cumpliendo con todo lo que requiere la empresa. Entonces considero que el salto es tener muy presente y estar muy bien organizados, no solamente en el tema de producción y todo, o sea, en general todo el equipo. Y que toda la cadena funcione obviamente súper bien, aparte de lo que es como el diseño y el ADN y cómo se muestra tu producto físicamente. Creo que el salto más importante es organizar absolutamente todo.
Estoy totalmente de acuerdo contigo. I couldn't agree more, and I think that's why it's finding that right fit that is key here, and that's why I always immediately thought of each of you. So this is actually the same question for you and for Stacey and for Kika, for Ramya, which is, what was that? Okay, so we partner you guys together. What was that first thing that you guys did with the brand that you guys did together that you thought that was the most essential thing that Kika needed to structure herself for that next step and take it to the next level?
When Kika and I first met and started working together, the first thing we really had to do was identify who is our customer, who is this woman. Because we were relaunching, we had an opportunity to really kind of reset. And I think it was really important to Kika and myself that Kika be perceived as an international designer, a Latin designer based in Latin America, but appealing to an international audience. So we looked at the market, we kind of navigated that, saw which brands might be similar to Kika in terms of her vision and aesthetic, and created our positioning around that, where we saw there was a white space. Again, I think really understanding Kika's DNA, but also finding where there was a place for her to sit in the international market was a very important first step, because that kind of created the roadmap that we then followed in creating the brand.
And I think it's amazing because also Kika has a very different aesthetic than what we think of, a Latin designer, which is, I think it's amazing that you've been so true to your brand DNA, and I think you've strongly dominated that with her. What about you, Stacey? What do you think? What was that first thing that you guys started doing with Maygel and Lucio?
With Maygel, our first focus was setting up the structure to scale the business. So for Maygel, we decided immediately that we could really drive the direct-to-consumer business that started. But in order to do that, we moved the website to Shopify specifically. We found a wonderful digital marketer that could allow us to drive more traffic to the website. And then we also wanted to scale the wholesale business. So we partnered with Tomorrow's showroom, which is called Goods and Services in New York. And we also had to make sure, and part of their prize was a trunk show on Moda, which is amazing, and Moda Operandi's been such a great supporter of Maygel and many Latin brands. But we had to align her development calendar, and she used to do monthly drops with the fashion calendar. So for most of you designers that have wholesale businesses and direct-to-consumer, they're big decisions. When are you shipping? What are you making, and what's the price structure? So we looked at, instead of doing monthly drops, we decided to do 3 seasons, not 4. We opted out of 1, and we decided, it wasn't worth spending for the fall season for a swimwear brand. And then we also had this one-size model that was size 0 to 10 with one size, but we also wanted to accommodate petites and extended. So we decided with 3 sizes, we could reach 20 sizes, basically. So from a sustainability standpoint, it was really important for us to look at how we could reach more people without being wasteful.
That's amazing. How do you think, Kika, it has helped you? I mean, clearly we know how much you've scaled your business since 2018, but winning that pitch, how do you think it's helped you scale that business?
Well, the pitch to LAFS came at the perfect time where I was and where I was with the brand. We were ready to relaunch. So it did give us kind of like the confidence and the boost to like spread our wings again. It definitely has made an impact and to like give us the confidence just to restart all over again. And it has been a wonderful journey. Like you said, it's been only like 3 years that we've been working together. And
How many stores are you guys in now?
we have 20 plus retailers right
Which
now.
are?
Almost 30. I mean, some of
Can
our
we talk about a few of them?
our key partners, Bergdorf Goodman was our first partner, and they really were so supportive of us that first season, which we launched for spring 2020. But now we're carried.
And she was in the windows, I remember.
We were in the windows during Fashion Week. Our big online partner is Matches. We also work really closely with Essence. We have retailers in Asia, including Joyce Boutique in Hong Kong, and a lot of really great specialty stores.
Nordstrom?
Nordstrom is a great department store business for us, and we're launching at Saks at the moment. So
That's amazing. Maygel, ¿tú cómo crees que te ha ayudado a tu negocio ese momento cuando ganaste el Pitch to LAFS? Tú tenías más distribución, tú tenías un negocio más grande que el de Kika en ese momento, pero era un negocio, de lo que me recuerdo platicando contigo, tenías muchas órdenes, de esas órdenes pequeñas, vendiendo localmente, vendías mucho en Centroamérica y en Latinoamérica, que todavía lo sigues haciendo. Pero ese salto, ¿cómo crees que el pitch te ha ayudado? Porque creo que muchos de los diseñadores, que esto es algo que me preguntan mucho, es como que, yo ya estoy demasiado establecido, yo no necesito el pitch. ¿Cómo crees a ti que te ha ayudado?
Bueno, realmente en todo, o sea, tuvimos un cambio impresionante porque sí es verdad que estábamos en muchas tiendas, pero trabajábamos como con nuestros tiempos, ¿sabes? Como muy a decisión nuestra de cómo sacábamos las colecciones o cómo hacíamos todo. Y obviamente cuando ganamos Pitch, aparte de que me ayudó mucho más, o sea, me ayudó mucho a creer en mí, en mi proyecto, en que podíamos hacer como cosas grandes con Maygel Coronel. Todo el tema de aprender, obviamente con ustedes, de cómo realmente teníamos que trabajar. Entonces el cambio ha sido impresionante en cuanto a la organización, en cuanto a los tiempos de entrega, las colecciones que hemos realizado. Entonces ha sido un cambio general. O sea, yo todavía estamos en cambios generales en la marca y aprendiendo, obviamente, a cumplir con las necesidades del mercado. Pero el cambio ha sido en todo y básicamente la marca lleva 4 años. Cuando ganamos Pitch teníamos 2 y estábamos literal a nuestro, ¿sabes? Como trabajando como nosotros queríamos y en nuestros tiempos, y todo ha cambiado. O sea, ya no es básicamente lo mismo. Ahora empezó la carrera contra el tiempo, más bien, con nosotros.
How many stores? By the way, es una historia muy interesante. El ganador del Pitch to LAFS se gana un trunk show con modo operandi. Y los tiempos eran, o sea, teníamos preparado ¿para qué día teníamos preparado ese trunk show?
semanas.
Justo en pandemia, o
It
sea,
was like
justo.
2 weeks after the pandemic started. Yo dije, no lo puedo creer. O sea, el peor momento, o sea, nadie va a comprar un vestido de baño ahorita. And all of a sudden, I mean, it was crazy. Everybody was buying them. And then they wanted to reorder, and it was, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, but clearly people were at home. They needed to be with bathing suits, so it was just the right timing. But now, in how many stores are you guys are now, and we could talk about a few of those?
Internationally, Maygel has 61 retailers in 90 locations and in 21 countries. It's amazing. Can I chime in with one thing? With Moda Operandi and Maygel specifically, they make you be so organized. It's like a great boot camp for designers to get ready. But they were blown away by Maygel's content and her imagery, and the fact that long before 3 years ago, she was shooting women of all different sizes and skin colors, and it's all about this strong woman. So Moda, interestingly enough, they couldn't believe that she had just won and was 2 years in business, and just another testament to the importance of imagery. And you all do beautiful lookbooks too, like gorgeous.
I mean, Kika. So Kika was a finalist for the LVMH Prize Award last year, which is amazing. So talk to us a lot. Very few people in the world get there. What was that like? Tell us about it.
Overwhelmingly beautiful experience. I am a strong believer in competition in general. I really like to compete, whether it's running, in sports, or in career-wise. So I love these kind of like pitch to labs or anything, because it gets you in a mindset where you really have to look inward and see what you're doing right. But most importantly, it gives you a great platform to see what you're doing wrong and where you need to improve. You know, it's that competition that you look at like your competitors and see how you stand next to them and what makes them strong, but also what makes you strong, and you learn a lot. So competition for me has always been really interesting.
Was there a mentoring the whole time?
So no, actually, when Ramya and I started working together, we always had that in mind. We always, since first day, it was like, our next step has to be, LVMH prize. So, but interestingly enough, when we were gonna apply, we felt we weren't ready. So we postponed our application for more than a year until we got to the place where and that's where I say, like, our discussion was like, well, we have to get this better. We have to be stronger with this, and just build up to a place where we felt comfortable and strong enough as a brand, and our identity was clear to apply. And I think that's why, like, this beautiful outcome came out of it.
That's amazing. You make us really proud. Ramya and Stacey, designer, women's wear, and swim are two of the most competitive spaces in the fashion industry, as we've been discussing earlier. What are these two designers what are they doing that are standing out in such a market that is so saturated? What's making them stood out and distinct?
I mean, certainly women's wear is a super saturated market, as we all know. I think for Kika, what helps the brand stand out is there's such an authentic point of view, and I think that with so many brands out there, you really need to stand out and be true to yourself. I think that prior to COVID, Kika was sourcing fabrics from Europe because that seemed like what was expected of a luxury designer brand. And then when COVID hit, we had to pivot and we had to start sourcing locally, and that gave us a chance to really to start diving into the prints which Kika had studied doing in school and had worked for Missoni before starting her own brand. So it really gave us a chance to create something unique, which I think is when our business actually took off. When we started doing the prints, which are so strong and so visual and so special, that gave us this leg up on a lot of other brands who don't make prints or don't, make them, they're not unique to their brand. So I think that really helped. And then I think also working locally, working with artisans on embroideries and different things to make the fabrics very, very special and unique and of the place where the brand is from. So they really feel of the place, but appeal to a global market.
Totally. And how do you, and it's also finding the right partners, right? Because I feel like as a designer, we all have this dream that we need to be at Moda, we need to be at Bergdorf, we need to be at Neiman's, and Bergdorf might not be the right fit for you because that client might not be who you are. That's why I always, that's the reason why we created this platform and why we created Pitch. And for me, it's super important, this matchmaking that I call it, the matchmaking that we create, because it's finding that right partner, right? What do you think, Stacey?
Yes. Swimwear is really saturated, and a lot of it is at a lower price point. So we had a few things working to our advantage where COVID was challenging and it was very hard because budgets were cut. We had an opportunity to build the direct business and have that dialogue directly. But one thing we heard from a lot of our retail partners was swimwear, people were staying home, but they were hanging out at their pools. They were moving to Miami, and Maygel Coronel swimsuits range from $250 to $425, which is, it's a luxury swim price point, but that segment of the market was working very well. So because of the quality of her product, we are able to charge that much, and the fact that you can change sizes and your swimsuit still fits you next season after your COVID 30 definitely worked to our advantage. But I do think Maygel's point of view and creating a story and conveying your story through your imagery is very helpful. So although she has a swimsuit, which now has been copied many times, people do want to own that Maygel Coronel swimsuit, and you only need one. So in that sense, she stood out, I think, because of the content she was producing. And there was a story, this Colombian designer at the perfect moment that was coming into luxury swim where Zimmerman was doing well, or you have Erez. But during COVID, people were price conscious, and it was a lot of look for the price. So even though it was luxury, if you're on Matches and you have a $300 price point, you really stand out.
No, it's unbelievable. It's crazy how like there's a little bit about component about timing also, you know? I always say that if we would have created a page 10 years ago, I don't think anybody would have paid attention. But you know, it's all about timing, right? So, for you, Kika, how has your strategies in sourcing and production has changed since your business grew significantly in a very short period of time?
So, like Ramya mentioned, before I was sourcing everything in Europe, and it did have a lot to do with just that's maybe what's expected of me. And then when COVID hit, and you know, Italy closed first, and then France closed second. I mean, they were the first ones. We really had to like look inward, but it was a conversation, not only because, okay, we have to get the collection out, but it was also, well, we have to be true to who we are and where we come from, and let's dig deep into that story, which I think it's something you hear a lot from Latin America, which is very beautiful, that we want to be very local. So that helped us, you know, to not only like expand the business and work on a sharper price point and work locally with our community and be very just proud of working with Colombian artisans, but it also was a great way of looking inward and what we believe in. And so COVID maybe brought difficulties or anything, but in our case, you know, it was just a great way to think of what's really important for us going forward. And it's something that, you know, it's here as a brand, like pillared as our DNA. You know, we might want to start sourcing from other places because we do want to bring in just different textures and different be more flexible with our price point as well and offer a bigger range. But it is something that is going to be part of Kika going forward for as long as it takes. Like we are.
That's great. ¿A ti cómo te cambió tu estrategia de producción durante la pandemia?
Bueno, bastante, porque empezamos a tener problemas por un tema de, con todo lo que estaba pasando, no habían insumos, no entregaban a tiempo, y tuvimos que hacer, obviamente, buscar buscar cómo solucionar ese problema, buscar otros tejidos, buscar otros proveedores, y obviamente también lo que hicimos fue que pedir más de lo que normalmente consumíamos para poder estar preparados si se alargaba toda la problemática, en verdad, de lo que estaba pasando, porque el tiempo con las entregas era impresionante. Entonces, más que todo en producción, porque sí teníamos, el equipo estaba preparado, pero había un problema que era con el tema de los insumos. y obviamente teníamos que entregar y teníamos que estar puntual con
Bueno, y
con
también
todo.
en ese momento no tenías e-com, ¿verdad?
Perdón.
No tenías e-commerce.
Sí,
Sí tenías poquito.
Lo teníamos poquito. Y lo que hicimos, pues, obviamente fue organizar mejor todo. Suena repetitivo, pero es simplemente eso y nos anticipamos, o sea, y pedíamos más cosas de lo que necesitábamos en ese momento. Si en cualquier momento, cualquier situación de la pandemia, porque todo estaba muy difícil, estar preparados para lo que pudiera pasar, en realidad.
Can I say one last thing that also really helped us as well is by keeping everything very close, our printmaking, our embroidery, it gave us a chance to work closely with our partners to offer them exclusives or work with them like on what they're looking for their like specific store. So maybe somebody needs fuchsia because that's what they're like trending, or somebody needs green. So we have been able to accommodate and work with each retailer on specialty items for them that has helped for them to also like push our brand. And also, you know, like give us a chance to react quickly to capsule collections that have also been just very rewarding for the
Which now you guys are doing children's wear, which I love. Kika, actually, staying true to your essence of your brand while pleasing the international community is a huge, huge challenge, as we know. What helped you remain true to your voice as a designer? And the reason why I'm asking this is because it was one of the questions that I get asked the most. It's like, and I'm not speaking on both of you, I'm speaking about of many designers when they do that big jump internationally. One of the things that I get asked from local stores in Latin America is like, why are they prices higher now? Why are they not, like, they have changed so much now, the brand. So that's why I thought it was super important to ask about how to please the international community and all these big, huge retailers while still being Kika.
So one of the things that's most important to us is team. And I always say, like, try to build a team around you that you really believe in and that you have, you know, you can bounce off ideas. For example, like my dearest Ramya, I think we have a never-ending conversation about our woman, and it's always like, where is she now? What is she doing now? So it's a never, ever-ending research of who are we selling to and who is our customer that will help us as designers, as creatives, to bounce off of each other, you know, like what we're creating, to keep relevant with the woman we're trying to reach. It's never, you know, the whole world or everything. Just stick to that woman that you believe in, that wears your brand, that loves your brand, and keep that conversation always going and going, because she's changing as much as you are and as much as the brand might be changing as well. So just always keep in mind who is your like ideal woman.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful advice. And I always say it to the designers. It's like, you know, it's like, don't design just for design. Like, you know, think about it, like do your homework. Like, where is she? Like that girl that is shopping in your WhatsApp or in your Instagram or in your website or in your local shop in your hometown is like, who is she? Where else does she shop? Where does she eat? Where does she vacation? Like there's a big like psychology behind like understanding who your client so you can please her and continue having her as a client. Para ti, Maygel, ¿cómo es ser fiel a tu voz como marca, ahora que has crecido enormemente, pero seguir siendo Maygel?
En realidad, como que cuando vamos a hacer algo, lo haces y ya. O sea, es como respetar el ADN de la marca, respetar tu estética, cómo se comunica, cómo se comporta, pero también escuchar como a todo el equipo que obviamente trabaja y que, ¿sabes? Como que escuchar también qué dicen, qué necesitan, y lo que hemos hecho en realidad es ajustar las colecciones y que sean colecciones más completas. O sea, no solamente como en lo que yo considere, sino que también escuchando todo mi equipo qué piensa o qué necesitamos. Y así como que vamos completando las colecciones y que sea, que tenga un poco para todas. O sea, obviamente eso era en lo que siempre hemos trabajado, pero ahora un poco más estudiado, más, ¿sabes? Pero considero que es mantener el ADN y seguir haciendo lo que te gusta y cómo tú lo sientes en realidad. O sea, creo que cuando haces las cosas con amor y como que en verdad lo que sientes de corazón, la gente, ¿sabes?, puede percibirlo y entenderlo.
No, y
Entonces,
tú tienes un DNA tan fuerte y o sea, si ven los videos de Maygel, o sea, su DNA está en sus videos, en su website, hay tanta consistencia y siempre hablamos de eso, de que es la consistencia del DNA en todo, en tu producto, en tu website, en tu e-com, en esa cena que vas a hacer para prensa, o sea, siempre, y tú lo haces muy, muy bien. Stacey, I think many people here in the audience are probably asking themselves, what does it take to become a multi-million-dollar business? What should designers be investing today? The industry's changing by second. And what are the resources? Where should they be investing? And what resources?
I think the first investment has to be in the team that you need to scale and to get your work done efficiently, quality-wise, and in order to grow. I know there are some big decisions, and I consult for other brands also, and some people are a one-person show. So I understand that Maygel started, for instance, with 10 employees, and now she has her own factory that has 80 women that she employs.
She built during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
So those were big decisions. And even deciding, for instance, to work with us, it's an investment, like I know for you all too. But I think designers need to decide what their strengths are, and they need to invest in what their weaknesses are a lot of times, because it's very hard to do on your own, and you need to prepare for growth. And if you're working with the international retailers, there's an expectation. You could have a $500,000 order one day, and if it's a 1 day late, they're going to cancel it. So we all had supply chain challenges during COVID, and I think we learned to adapt. But I think those initial key team members, Maygel's husband, Lucho, I work with a lot directly, and he does the business side of her business. And Maygel's able to be creative and do all the fun stuff. But I think finding the additions to the team and carving out those budgets, even if they're small to start. And the beauty of this day and age is you could have someone who's a consultant that has 20 years of experience, and you get a few hours of their time that might be very valuable, where 5 years ago you would have had to hire a CEO. So I think using your money very efficiently and trying to maximize the time that you have and really securing your production, like you all said too, it's so important.
No, 100%. I always
one
say
more.
that, like,
Can I say one more? If you're doing direct websites too, like get on the right platform. I mean, 90% of websites are on Shopify right now, but it's so important that works well, so invest in that too.
100%. And it's also what works for one person doesn't work for the other, right? What do you think, Stacey, about what takes a designer? Where should they be investing today?
I mean, I think it really depends on the brand, but certainly team is the number one thing. I agree with that. And I think if your goal is to expand internationally, before you do that, you need to invest in making sure your logistics and your production is ready to go. Because once you get in front of those retailers and they give you that $500,000 order, you can't say, oh, sorry, actually, we're not ready. So you have to be 100% ready. You have to identify who your manufacturing partner is going to be. You have to make sure that they can do the quality that an international market would command. And I think really make sure, even if it's 1 or 2 extra people, get some people on board so that you're ready to go when the retailers meet you. I think that's
I agree. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, actually, because this year we received 888 applications, which was extremely overwhelming, and the pressure is on us because we've had 2 pitches, 2 success stories, so extremely stressful because really we got to pull through with the 3rd one now. A big question I get asked all the time from designers, where should I be investing? direct to consumer, wholesale. What do you think, Stacey?
It's unique to each brand, and it has a lot to do with the price structure of your product. So with Maygel specifically, we had the room in the margin because you're able to produce swim for a lot less than a dress that you have to make. We were able to keep the price competitive. So I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, can your product allow you to do wholesale? Do you have the room without pricing yourself out of the market? So I love to think that down the road, every designer can have their own direct-to-consumer business because it gives you control. You're allowed to speak to your customers directly, and the margins are good. So I think that's a goal. But if you can do both, if you have your direct-to-consumer business, you also need the retailers for marketing. So in a perfect world, I think you need both, and you have to decide on the price structure that works best for you. Like, you're going to price at DTC and have retailers be your marketing, and you're just going to break even on those? Or do you want to price for wholesale, which might be 2.5 times your DTC pricing, and have that marketing platform?
Yeah, it's so interesting, but at the same time, like, I feel like back to like what works for one person doesn't work for the other. Like, I keep telling designers, I'm like, just because they're investing so much money in direct to consumer doesn't mean that you need to be doing that. Like, you might have, like in your case, you guys have a huge business now in wholesale. So what's your thoughts on?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you've said. It's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. In the case of Kika, clearly the product is a different price point, and we really felt that the wholesale channel was our first, step in getting the brand awareness out there. Both from a marketing perspective, I mean, you really do lean on these retailers for their marketing dollars, which is a small brand we couldn't afford on our own. But also just really bringing awareness to the world of who Kika is. Now we're in phase 2 where we're about to launch our direct-to-consumer, which we're really, really excited about. But we felt as a brand, and considering the price point and the aesthetic, that we really needed to create our tribe of women globally who have become kind of like our ambassadors, who can now, when we launch our direct-to-consumer, be our ambassadors to this new audience that will shop with us directly.
That's amazing. When is it launching? This year?
Surprise. This year
for sure. Yeah.
I'm excited. Children's wear. That's also been a new category. Are we going to see more children's wear other than Nordstrom?
Again, it was a conversation we had, like, right
By the way,
from the
my
beginning.
daughter still needs a dress.
I think as, mothers, and I am obsessed with Kiara, so we always talk about, like, what would Kiara wear in the Kika world, because she's just the coolest kid. So when the pandemic hit, and, we had this great moment where, we weren't in Paris, in a showroom, in a hotel room, a bit like generic, but it was what everybody was doing and kind of like what was expected. If you wanted to get visibility, you had to go there. We had that great chance to transitioning to Zoom and having all our retailers see kind of like the backdrop of Bogota, and seeing like where I come from and how I work and what inspires me. And the great thing about our meetings was that, we were there for 45 minutes or 50 minutes with each partner, and just really talking about what is working for you, what have you seen is selling, what have you not. And just by conversation, we're like, we have been always really interested in kids as part of, like, we're mothers and we have our children. And Nordstrom thought it was a really interesting idea, and they wanted to partner up with us. So it was more of a strategy of how to launch the Kika Vargas collection and pair it up with a mommy and me strategy. But it kind of like grew to a part of the business, and just kind of like it has its own wings now.
I think when we started the conversation with Nordstrom, we realized that generally with these special retailers, you want to offer them something unique, especially when they're launching your brand, because they'll invest more marketing dollars if they have something exclusive, and they'll be more excited to promote you. And we had always wanted to do kids, so we said, gosh, this could be a perfect vehicle for us to launch kids, give them something exclusive and special, test the market to see if there is a Kika Kids customer, understand the pricing architecture, because it was a new category for us. So when we approached them with kids, they were so excited. We were so excited because it helped us launch it in such a great way. And yeah, the rest is history. Now we have kids with many different partners, and we sell kids to stores that don't have women's as well. So it's become like a real another channel for us.
What's next for the brand?
Lots of exciting things. I mean, obviously, with Kika's background as an artist, we're very, very obsessed with textiles and print, and we see it lending itself very much to home, which I think is our next move. But we also have some really cool collaborations in the works. You know, I think as a brand, you have such a great opportunity to partner with other brands and tell an interesting story together. And so those are the things we're working on.
Maygel, para ti, cuéntame, ¿qué se viene de Maygel Coronel? En el corto plazo y en el largo plazo.
Bueno, en realidad seguir trabajando y seguir organizando esta carrera que hay contra el tiempo. Bueno, también estamos haciendo kits. Y obviamente yo también soy mamá, mi hija tiene 6 años y en todo este proceso ella siempre me exige, mamá, por favor, quiero uno igual al tuyo. Y ahí nace como esta idea de todas sus amiguitas son fans de todos los vestidos de baño que le hacemos y de los vestidos. Y dijimos, ¿por qué no incluir en Maygel Coronel kits? Y pues nos parece como una idea súper bonita porque además que soy madre.
¿Lo vas a hacer también para wholesale? ¿Se lo van a dar a tiendas o lo vas a dejar en tu e-com?
Estamos pensándolo. Vamos primero a tenerlo como en casa y después vamos a ver cómo lo hacemos en realidad.
So we're actually out of time, but I have to ask Kika and Maygel, because I think all of you designers that apply to the Pitch to LAFS, I mean 888 applied this year, are probably, they want to know what advice you would give them in order to take their business to the next level. And also, I'll add to here, like, what advice would you give them to the designers that want to apply to the pitch? Like, because I think it's like, they need to be ready. Because also, when I partner you with the right matchmaking, the things that I'm going to suggest are going to cost you money. You know, they won't come for free. So what advice would you give all of these designers that have applied? What would be your advice to them?
So I would say it's really important to sit down and study where you are, how your business is structured, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what do you need to get better at. So when you actually compete in Pitch to LAFS or, you know, out in the real world or wherever you are, you have identified where you have to work really hard at and then what is easier for you. It's a never-ending process. What works today might not work tomorrow. So it is a conversation you have to have with yourself, with your team, with your partners, with your mentors, whoever you believe in and you value their judgment. Have this conversation every week if possible, because there's always room for improvement. Production might not be working right. So what you have to fix today might not be a problem tomorrow, but what's not a problem today might be a problem tomorrow. So always, always do your research of who you are, how you're structured, what you need to get better at, and just have that conversation every day.
That's wonderful. Kika, Maygel, ¿qué consejo le darías tú a todos los diseñadores que están aquí hoy, que nos están escuchando también virtualmente? ¿Qué consejo le darías?
Que sigan trabajando, obviamente, que sigamos trabajando en lo que nos gusta y que nos preparemos siempre pensando en ese mañana y no viendo lo imposible, porque como te digo, cuando yo inicié con Pitch, o sea, que estuve aquí, yo tenía 2 años y en realidad nunca me imaginé, nunca pensé estar preparada. Es más, siempre digo como que aún falta, pero es seguir trabajando, ser constante, organizar bien todo el equipo. Yo creo que investigar bastante porque a veces de pronto perdemos el tiempo en cosas que de pronto no nos sirven en el tiempo en el que estamos. Entonces es como poner la mente bien clara en lo que queremos hacer y trabajar, obviamente, por eso y investigar demasiado. Considero que estudiar qué es lo que realmente necesitamos como empresa, a dónde queremos llegar nosotros sin ver qué está pasando con el resto de personas o qué está pasando con X o Y diseñador, sino que en verdad trabajar por aquello donde podemos, o sea, queremos poner nuestra marca o nuestros sueños en realidad. Entonces considero que es
You're doing it very well. Girls, I'm insanely proud of what you guys have achieved. I mean,
you for
it makes me
introducing
want to
us.
cry because it's unbelievable how these two babies became, you know, huge monsters internationally. I'm so proud. I am eternally grateful to you, Ramya, and to you, Stacey, and to both of you on really believing me on this matchmaking, you know, because you also trusted me, you know. So I can't thank you enough. We need to open it.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Because we are out of time, I'm gonna allow 2 questions from the public. So if anybody has a question, I believe there's girls in the sides with microphones that could come and give you, if anybody has a question. Come on, girls, don't be shy.
Thank you. Hello? Hi. I was just wondering, what was the process of applying for Pitch to LAFS, and what recommendation would you do in the application? Other than being ready, what really stood you guys apart? And it's not only to the contestants and the winners, but also to Estefanía as, you know, obviously the founder, co-founder.
Do you mind speaking just a little bit louder?
Yeah, of course. My question is, what really stood you guys apart in your Pitch to LAFS application? And what recommendations you would give to anyone that's interested to participate, not only from a winner's perspective, but also as a co-founder and, you know, making the decision of who's getting there? What would you guys recommend?
Well, one of the most important things is brand DNA. I talk about it all the time. You guys know I'm extremely blunt and I say it. Come on, guys. We all know there's a lot of copy out there. Like, that needs to stop. It's ridiculous. It needs to stop. Brand DNA, number one. That stood up of those 2 girls. They had a huge, strong DNA. And they were ready. I mean, we studied everything about their business. They were 100% ready to do the next jump. I mean, we looked at 888 applications this year. And I have to say, some of the designers that apply, I mean, some of them don't even have an Instagram account. I mean, I think for you to be ready, I think you should have somewhat of a very organized business already locally in your hometown. You don't have to be selling millions, but you have to have an extremely organized team already, because all the advices that we're gonna get, the first thing, the moment you win, I'm gonna sit with Kika and with her team, and I'm gonna be like, what do we need to do? Like, we need to find you the right showroom, the right PR firm, or the right luxury consultant to do the next jump. I mean, so there's also a component. I don't want to kill people's dream, but there has to be a component also being economically ready, because we all have a dream of wanting to sell internationally, but you have to be ready for it. If Moda Operandi or Net-a-Porter comes and it gives you that that $100,000 order, they're not going to pay for that money up front, so you're going to need that money to go produce it. So I feel like you guys, it's okay. Like, just get there and then apply.
Can I chime into one thing? Ramya and I have both been judges for the first 2 Pitch to LAFS seasons, and you have one impression to make, and it needs to be made in about 5 minutes. So you have to really tighten up your assets, and if you have the opportunity to present your actual collection to the panel, you have to have what I call your elevator pitch ready. You need to be able to communicate why you're doing it, what sets you apart, and what your brand stands for in your application, which is through imagery normally. And then be very ready to convey that quickly, clearly, and stand out from the rest. Right.
You also have to understand where your product fits in. Who are you? Who is your customer, so that the judges understand where you would be placed at, and you really have to understand the value of your product, how much it costs really, and how much you want to sell it for, so they understand where you're gonna be sit to and who you're gonna be next to. Apart from having your very strong DNA.
Well, girls, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor.
We take them off.